Welcome back, everyone, to the Vendetta Sports Media Daily Show. Today is May 3rd, 2023. I am Jack Sabin, joined by Anthony Miranda. Anthony, how you doing today?
I'm doing good so far. Day kind of just started. Got some classes and everything, but yeah, I'm doing good.
Yep, same thing over here. Class and work, the whole shebang, really. But what better way to start the morning off than talking about sports? And last night we had a slate of some great NBA games. We had two games, both of them really good games that I think all NBA fans can be glad with. But first, I think we should get started with this Heat Knicks game. The Knicks ended up winning by 6 points, 111 to 105. The Heat had no Jimmy Butler, but still put up, a hell of an effort. So, what were kind of your thoughts on this game, Anthony?
Um, I mean, it was good for the Knicks to get the win, make it 1-1, because you never want to go down 0-2. But it's probably a game I think the Knicks should win though when the Heat didn't have Jimmy Butler, because I mean you've seen how he's been throughout the postseason so far. So and then overall, I thought it was an entertaining, fun game to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. This was basically a must-win game for the Knicks. Believe they were at home, correct? These first two games were in New York.
Yeah, they're a higher seed,
So if it would have been absolutely tragic go
a lower
down
seed.
2-0, especially on the road in that second game with no Jimmy Butler. So you know, big game for the Knicks. The Heat. I'm surprised they even kept it this close.
Hmm.
They had some great play from guys like Caleb Martin. Shout out UNR.
Yeah,
He had 22 points. Gabe Vincent, playing 41 minutes in Jimmy Butler's absence, was able to score 21. Max Strus, solid game at 21 points. So yeah, I think it was just the C team definitely came to play, and they're definitely going to be dangerous when Jimmy Butler's healthy. But Jalen Brunson just doing Jalen Brunson things, just kind of always was seemingly there to hit that big shot. Julius Randle, another big game. R.J. Barrett, at least in these playoffs, finally kind of seems to start be putting it together. So for the rest of the series, kind of what do you foresee happening? You think the Heat can pull it off?
um, I think it's still very winnable, obviously, because I'm not the hugest fan of like the Knicks. Like, I mean, I like them, but they're not some they're not like the Celtics or anything. So they're very beatable, especially when you have Julius Randle and RJ Barrett are known to be very inefficient at times and miss a lot of shots. So especially if Jalen Brunson isn't on, that offense can spiral real quick. But I mean, you'll have to see with about Jimmy because I mean, without Jimmy Butler, that Miami team, I'm not, I don't trust them to win any series. Um, I just wanted to check real quick. Yeah, okay, like Jalen Brunson game one went 11 for 23 and then 0 for 7 from three. But no, I mean, we'll see. I want to see. I'm curious to see how Jalen Brunson keeps playing because I think he shot. What did he have? He had yeah, I mean, he had 30 points, and I think he shot roughly 50% from the field goal, 60% from three, and 100% from the free throw line. I mean, that's like a crazy efficient game right there. So I think it'll be interesting seeing now the series going back to Miami. If they split again, or if someone can win two. But I think without Jimmy, I would take the Knicks, but with Jimmy, and we'll see how healthy he is too, I might lean on the side of Miami.
Yeah, and kind of like you mentioned, this Knicks team can seemingly be very hit or hit or miss. Where sometimes their top guys, like Brunson and Randall, are just gonna be in their bag, and there's really nothing or not a whole lot you're gonna do to stop them. And then you have other games where they seemingly like that game against the Cavs where just nobody can seemingly buy a bucket.
Uh-huh.
I think even if the Heat do have Jimmy Butler going forward with the rest of the series, I think I would have to lean Knicks. I think the Knicks, top to bottom, are just the better team. They have more depth, and I feel like Jimmy Butler is going to be able to do enough to get this Heat team, probably another win on his own. But unless they have another game like this where a bunch of role guys are stepping up and kind of taking some of the load off Jimmy, then I don't see this Heat team having the depth in a 7 game series to defeat these Knicks. Isaiah quickly for the Knicks. I mean, he only got 9 minutes last night. Only finished with 6 points, but he's the guy off the bench that was huge for the Knicks in the regular season. I think he was the runner-up for Sixth Man of the Year. Had some big games, so I think guys like him, even Obi Toppin off the bench, are just better than some of these depth pieces that the Heat have. Guys like Duncan Robinson, who the Heat have to play in specialized moments because of how bad his defense is. Kyle Lowry shot 3 for 9 last night. So yeah, I think if this Heat team wants to make a serious run, they're gonna have to quit relying on Jimmy so much in his 50-point games and kind of continue to see great play from these depth pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, but at the same time, I mean, they kind of just beat the Bucks a little bit with only Jimmy, and I think the
This
Bucks
is
are
true.
a way better team than the Knicks. But obviously, even that series, like Giannis was injured and stuff like that, so there's some things happening there too. But I agree. I think, I mean, looking at their bench, yeah, the Heat bench is not that good at all. But I mean, Caleb Martin's been given good games so far. I think Bam Adebayo needs to, even though, yeah, he didn't even really have that good. He needs to step up, honestly, quite honestly. I just, I'll say that too. Yeah, if he, specifically if he doesn't step up, then it's going to be a way more tough to beat the Knicks, obviously. But I just think that with the people on their team that could shoot some threes and maybe get hot, you can always hopefully rely on a game of if they do get hot, then that should hopefully get you the win. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think the Knicks roster's better, but I would probably take the Stars a little bit more, or at least Jimmy. But I think Bam Adebayo is a great two-way player, but I think he needs to get his offense going more. But regardless, 1-1 split should be a fun series. We'll see how the rest of it plays out.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right on that Bam point. I think he just kind of. It's not even that he has been bad or is bad or anything. I just think he needs to. I just think he needs to get more aggressive. It just seems like so
Hmm.
many times when watching him play, he's just kind of lax on the offensive end and he's not really worried about getting his shot. And obviously, Bam's value comes from his elite defense and his ability to guard almost any position on the court and be an elite rebounder. But I think once you get into the playoffs and especially in games or situations where Jimmy Butler isn't at 100% or even isn't playing, then yeah, I think someone like Bam kind of needs to take a look, take a bigger role and take more than
Uh-huh.
10 shots, and, kind of cement himself as an important part of this offense. Kevin Love's another guy. I know Kevin Love's a bit older at this point, but you're not bringing him in to shoot 2 of 8 from three. I think, and this is probably just an off game for Kevin Love. We all obviously know he's not that bad of a shooter, and like you said, this Heat team, they'll live and die by the 3 pointer. And last night they weren't even you know horrible. I think they shot was it 35% from three, so not horrible, but not going to be enough for this Heat team to kind of win by that recipe.
I think too, like you're saying about Bam being more aggressive. I think this goes for like really any team. I just think if you're the second star or whatever, no matter if you like maybe specialize more defensively or you find your buckets in the flow of the game. I think you do have to be more aggressive and you have to look to score more because people are gonna like because then after the game people are gonna look at the stats and be like, oh, this bench player shot this, this other dude shot this. Well, they shouldn't even be getting that many shots because you should be the one putting it on yourself to score. I mean, if you're the second best player on the team, you need to shoot the ball or try to score, whether that's in the paint or anything. I just I don't know, certain teams with like there's certain second stars or whatever. Even that goes for even some third stars sometimes, depending on how deep a team is. But you have to be more aggressive. And I think especially like you said too, given circumstances, specifically in this situation with Jimmy, if he's out or not 100%. You got to put that on yourself to do it rather than relying on everyone else, such as like even role players or the fourth, fifth guy on the in the starting five.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the idea of the second star kind of needing to step up for for you, but you look at this Heat team. I mean, their second star is hurt right now. Tyler Hero. If you want to argue, he's their second star. Him and Bam. I'm sure you could argue in terms of the value they bring to the Heat, but I think it's no surprise that in terms of scoring, he was definitely the second option for this team.
Hmm.
Great scorer, great at getting his own bucket. And so now, you're in a game like this where it's okay when our top two scoring options are out. And it's like, I think there needs to be a little bit more, urgency from Bam, kind of like you said. And we'll talk about, the Sixers and Celtics later. But, I mean, we saw it with James Harden on Monday where Joel Embiid was out and James Harden knew right away that he was going to have to step up and bear the brunt of the scoring. And he did just that with, his 50-point game, and it was enough to get them to win. So, yeah, I feel like this Heat team, some guys are going to have, the role players. I mean, if you get 22 from Caleb Martin, 21 from Gabe Vincent, and 17 from Max Strus, usually you're probably going to find yourself in the game or at least winning it. So I don't think anything should really change from that. You're not going to get that kind of production from those three guys on a nightly basis. But yeah, I think you just kind of need Bam to step up and actually start trying to be a weapon on offense. Kevin Love's going to have to step up and not shoot 2 of 8 from three. And even Kyle Lowry off the bench, he doesn't need to have his 30, 40 point games he was having at the start of the playoffs, but I think you need a little bit more than 3 of 9 from shooting from him, especially because this Knicks team, they've shown they're coming to play. They're tired of the early exits and not even being in the playoffs. This the city of New York is in of itself is a fever dream, and once the Knicks start winning playoff games, it's going to be impossible to contain. So I think this Heat team needs to come out and not let this series get too far out of hand. Because once this Knicks team goes up 3-1, I don't see a recipe for the Heat coming back, even with Jimmy Butler at that point.
Yeah. Do you want to go to the Warriors Lakers?
Oh yeah. So yeah, the next game that was played yesterday was a rematch between Stephen Curry and LeBron James. It's a matchup that many of us fans grew accustomed to during the reign of the Warriors and Cavs. In this game, LeBron was able to take the series lead. The Lakers won by a score of 117 to 112 to take a 1-0 series lead. LeBron didn't have, an amazing game, at least for his standards. I mean, I know he still finished with 22, 11 and 4, but, 9 of 24 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. Far from a elite efficient game by LeBron standards, but Anthony Davis, picked up the brunt, scored 30 points, 23 rebounds, 4 blocks on 11 for 19 shooting. I mean, flat out insane. Definitely what Laker fans have been waiting for in terms of AD. D'Lo only shot 1 of 5 from 3, but still finished with 19. And then Schroeder, off the bench, 5 of 10 from the field, but 9 of 10 from the free throw line. So, what kind of went right for this Lakers team and allowing them to steal this game from the Warriors?
Um, well, I mean, to start, Anthony Davis, 30 and 23. That's pretty great stat line to that should get you a lot of wins. Um, I thought, they, I think Anthony Davis gets hated on a lot because of like, he's fragile or whatever. But I mean, when he's healthy and he's on the court, I think he's easily in the top five, like player in the NBA conversation. And I think he's proven that so far this playoffs. But I mean, I don't know. It's tough. That's just a tough game. What went right? It was just a great game that the Lakers pulled out because I mean the Warriors had their scores going and maybe no like amazing like 30 plus game, but I think they had three people with 20 points or in the 20s.
Yeah.
They were hitting threes. So it was just a good offensive game and then when it come down late when it came down to like the last 5 minutes or however they made their run, they came back and then Curry hit one of those threes like he does. He tied it up, but Lakers were able to get to the free throw line, hit the shots when they needed it down the stretch, and play enough defense to hold them off. And then, I mean, obviously there was that terrible shot from Jordan Poole that kind of sealed the deal. Which I don't even know why Jordan Poole is in because against the Kings he wasn't in like any fourth quarter, any real late time scenario. And now I see why because he takes shots like that. But I mean, as much as I don't know if there was like a specific ingredient in that game. I just thought it was a great game between both teams, and it's great games happen when it's who hits the one shot, one more shot, who gets one more stop. So it just played out that way that the Lakers were victorious.
Yeah, and I mean, LeBron and Curry are obviously known for their great games, great series, and this is looking like it's fixing to be another one. And, I mean, kind of like you said, timely defense by the Lakers, able to get some big stops down the line. Because, I mean, in a game where Curry had 27 and Clay had 25, that's kind of the recipe of success for this Warriors team is, those two guys getting going and the rest will kind of fall into place usually. It's if, those Curry and Clay are both scoring scoring and hitting threes, then the Warriors will just kind of let everything else fall into place. But Wiggins didn't have a horrible game, but didn't have a great one. 15, 6 of 14, 1 of 5 from three. I'm sure they're looking for a little bit more from him. And then yeah, Jordan Poole. I mean, didn't have a horrible game overall, but just horrible shot at the end. There's one player. There's one, maybe two players on that team who can take that shot, and his name is Stephen Curry and maybe Klay Thompson. But even at this point, I probably wouldn't want Klay taking that shot. So yeah, it was definitely a questionable shot from Poole. I just loved I don't know if you saw, but Tyrese Halliburton was in the booth for that game, and he was trying to defend the shot, and he was talking about he's like, oh, that was a good shot. I would have taken that shot. And one of the announcers just goes, well, yeah, that's why you're sitting here with us.
That's wild. No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, just absolutely destroyed Tyrese Halliburton for no reason.
Uh-huh.
Because yeah, Halliburton was like, oh yeah, wasn't that bad a shot. And I mean, they always say it's a bad shot unless you make it. It's a bad shot until you make it, then it's a great shot. And
Uh-huh.
we all remember that Damian Lillard Paul George clip where
Yeah.
Damian Lillard launches it from like 40 plus feet with Paul George right in his face. And then Paul
That's right.
George comes out and says, well, it's not a good shot.
And I will die on it. It's not a good shot.
No, it's
Like
not,
it's not
but
a good
he
shot.
makes it,
I
so it
don't care. That's
is.
I know some people are like, but I don't care that he made it. It's like, and I'm saying but it's not a good shot though. And
Yeah.
like that's what I'm saying, yeah. Because
Like as a
like
defense, you'll live with a guy taking a 40 plus foot contested
exactly.
three. If he makes it, you tip your cap to him.
And the coach your coach is never going to be happy when you take that shot too, or when you settle. That's my only problem is with the Jordan Poole thing. I just thought he settled. There's no need to take that deep of a shot when there's still a good amount of time on that clock too.
Yeah,
Um, and I know like Steph got doubled immediately, pretty high up too, so he had to get it out. But Steph Curry's great at running around the court, finding a way to get open. So you had enough time to not only try to maybe find him one more time, but at least to dribble into that shot or
yeah,
drive. I think they might have needed the three, so I don't know if you could go for the two, but I just didn't know. I just didn't think. Also, so it hit someone else before it hit him. Why are you even that far back in the first place? Steph's getting doubled. That's a catch and shoot opportunity.
yeah.
I just didn't. Yeah, it's
You
just I
know you
didn't
need a
like the shot.
three, and you spotted up like damn near at half court. It just
Uh-huh.
didn't make a whole lot of sense. I know Poole's still young. I mean, he had the playoff experience last season, but yeah, that was definitely a questionable shot. I'm sure a lot of Warrior fans are not happy with Jordan Poole right now, and it seems like each day or every week that contract just gets worse and worse
Yeah,
for
I
the
don't disagree with
Warriors
that.
because it's just like Jordan Poole seemingly hasn't gotten like any better. Like he hasn't gotten
Hmm.
any worse or any better since they signed him to that deal. He's just kind of not going to be a liability on defense. Not a great playmaker, but going to be a decent scorer and shoot. At an above average level.
Yeah, I think I almost forgot to one of the keys for why the Lakers won is they shot 29 free throws and the Warriors shot six. So
Yeah, I mean that's
um, not 100% sure how that happens like that. Um, I know the Warriors aren't the biggest team that drives and everything. Although against us, they outshot us in free throws a couple times. And if when they didn't, they were not far behind. Um, and as I was saying against the Kings last series, so that's I don't know. That's just interesting how they go from shooting about 20 free throws a game against the Kings to they shoot six against the Lakers and the Lakers shoot 29. So I mean, and you lose besides because I would say both teams were pretty efficient for the most part and everything, and they didn't really turn the ball over either team, but to lose by five when you get like 23 less free throws is pretty wild.
yeah, and I mean you mentioned the Lakers shot 29 free throws and they made 25 of them. They shot 86% on the night, and that I mean certainly was the difference in the outcome of this game, especially when you look at the Lakers only shot 24% from three. They're not a great 3-point shooting team. It's one of the things they tried to most address at the deadline. D'Angelo Russell didn't shoot great from three, and LeBron 1 of 8. But yeah, they only shot 24% from three, and the Warriors shot 39.6, so we'll say 40% from three. If you were to just look at those two stats and nothing else from this game, you'd probably assume that the Warriors won, and even by a decent amount. If they're out shooting a team at the 3-point line by that much, that's kind of what they want to do to win games. But then yeah, you look at the turnover difference, and it's well, they're making 20 more free throws. In a game that was decided by 5 points, it'd be crazy to not think that that free throw discrepancy played a huge role in the outcome of this game.
Hmm. I think too. That's wild too because about them shooting 40% because they shot 53 threes. So to shoot 40% on 53 three-pointers is yeah, I mean I don't think there's too often where that doing that's gonna lead to a loss.
Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah, for this Warriors team, that's gonna be the recipe for success. They're gonna live and die by that.
what do you think? Because I've been seeing at least with all my friends or people I know, it sounds like a lot of people think that it's like gonna be the Lakers series, even before obviously this last game. Um, well, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think happens at least for the series and maybe a little bit for next game as well? but it sounds like a lot of people are going Lakers on this.
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. My heart saying the Lakers just because I really don't want to continue seeing the Warriors win, but I think they're just gonna find a way to get it done. I mean, we saw it with the Kings series. There were a couple different times where it seemed like the Kings were gonna, take the momentum and run away with the series, and the Warriors just always seemed to keep their head on their shoulders and hunker down and win the games that they need to. I think the concerning thing for them is that this game was at home, right?
Hmm.
This was a home games for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Warriors, and they've usually been dominant at home. I think they were 33-8. It says right here at home.
that's
So that's a
wild
little
too.
concerning. The fact that they dropped a home game, but I think they'll get back on track this next game. They'll even it out in the Bay, and then from there, I do think the Warriors will get it done. I think again they just got a little bit more depth. I think some guys need to step up for them still, but I think the
Uh,
Warriors are just gonna annoyingly find a way to get it done, like they always seem to do.
because especially, I mean, obviously they dropped this one, but all you really got to do is, well, obviously win the next one for sure. Split in LA, and then if you know you're the, I think the best home team in the league, if not one of, and then you have two home games to one, on the back end of the series. So yeah, I don't think they're in a bad position, but um, I
Certainly
don't
not
know.
an
Yeah,
ideal one.
yeah, and it'll be fun to see because like. I'm sure you'll get a LeBron game in there where he takes over. He might win one. AD's going to keep playing good. Um, so yeah, I mean the series is definitely fun. I was also just thinking though, it's crazy that they were at home and you didn't get the whistle. 29-6 at home,
Yeah,
free throw wise, is pretty
that's
wild.
weird. Yeah, that's definitely weird. You'd figure the home cooking would be helping, but
Yeah, I
clearly it
think
worked in the opposite way. And I mean, yeah, like you said, the Warriors also they're a team that relies on, 3 pointers and shooting a lot more than the average team. So that they're not necessarily, trying to get to the rack as much as, say, a Lakers team. It's going to have
mhm,
LeBron and AD, who you just sometimes kind of have to bully down below in order to stop.
yeah, because I know in the last two Kings Warriors games, even though the Kings get to the line, get a lot more free throws, and give up a lot less free throws all regular season. The Warriors outshot the Kings by 8 and 10 free throws for the Warriors' last two home games. So seeing the just like I was saying, seeing as the Warriors shooting more free throws than the Kings in their series, and then coming to the Lakers. And then seeing the Lakers shoot that many free throws against the Warriors, yeah, that is wild. So I'm also curious to see um, how the game goes, how next game goes without that big of a free throw margin too. Because I
Yeah.
still thought both teams played well, but yeah, I mean, see,
I mean, yeah, the free throws were definitely the deciding factor. When you look at how close that game was, when you see that free throw discrepancy, it 100% was the was one of the big deciding factors in the outcome of that game. And yeah, I doubt it's that big in the coming games, which leads me to believe that the Warriors will find a way to, come back and get it done. But what do you think? Have you given your series prediction yet before we
oh
move
no,
on?
I would just say, yeah, I mean, I'd probably go Warriors. I think I just don't. The Lakers got a lot of help last series from Roy Hachimura game where he's dropping. I think he dropped over 25 twice.
Yeah.
Austin Reeves had a good game, um, and I do think AD will keep being AD, but I just don't. I don't really think I think I'm gonna take the Warriors, the whole roster, top to bottom, and everything, because I just don't think D'Lo and LeBron are gonna step up as much as they need to. Because like LeBron, the last series, I think shot 45 from the field, shot 19% from three, and 67% from the free throw line, which is just that's horrible. Um, and he's supposed to be the best player on the Lakers. Your best player shooting those stats. Um, and he shot what he shoot again? Yeah, 1 for 8 again. Uh, last game, but I mean, he still. I know he's older, and he turns it on in the fourth, which is good. He gets to the rack um, younger Braun, but I don't know how good LeBron James can be anymore in a full series for like how many games he can truly like take over and impact compared to the Warriors. Obviously, they have a great team with just that championship experience and the way they have a couple of hands that could get hot or at least hit their shots and stuff. And for how just perfect Curry was in that Kings series, I'm gonna continue to say he can keep doing it. I mean, he had 27, which is still a good game, but he was otherworldly a couple of those games in that Kings series. And I think he can do that a couple more times and
especially that
really,
last one.
yeah, 50 points. I think he could carry the load again a little bit. And then it was good to see, even though he missed that shot, Jordan Poole finally started hitting a little bit of shots because he was awful in that King series. And then Clay, six for, oh, he took 16 threes. That's a lot. But I mean, he had six
Yeah,
of them. So
that's
I
his
think Clay will
role.
get going. And I'll say, I didn't expect it. And then Kevon Looney, another 23 rebound game. So, I mean, he's just a man on a mission right now.
Yeah, and the
But
fact that the Warriors have him as like the 30 something highest paid center is absolutely
really, that's
crazy.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I think somebody was talking about it in the NBA thread, but yeah, he's like in the 30s, like 32nd or 33rd highest paid center in the
So, I
league.
mean, I think this is a fun series, obviously, too, with two big fan bases too. I know
Oh
that
yeah,
The Kings Warriors kept breaking viewership records for like round one. I gotta imagine this Lakers Warriors viewership should be through the roof as
yeah. I
well.
mean, the weird, or interesting thing with the Kings Warriors thing is like you're getting like almost the entirety of California, or at least
Yeah.
the entirety of Northern California
Uh-huh.
at the very least. Because I mean, basically every game was a home game for both of those teams. It was like, all right, well now we're going to play the Warriors, so let's go drive, you know, 30, 40 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, I think that was definitely playing a part in the viewership ratings. But yeah, I mean, this series, I mean, LeBron. I mean, it's just LeBron versus Curry alone. Because I mean, I remember all those countless Warriors Cavs series where it seemed like it was gonna be Curry versus LeBron in the finals every year from now until the
Uh-huh.
end of time. So it's kind of nice seeing that again. Could be the last time these two guys play each other in the playoffs. LeBron's obviously getting up there in age, as is Curry. So I mean, this could be the last time these two guys meet in the playoffs. And yeah, it's looking like it's going to be an exciting series. So yeah, I guess my prediction, I'll say probably Warriors in six. I think the Lakers can take another game, especially at home. But I think especially if it goes back to Golden State, then the Warriors will clean up business.
Yeah. I think I don't disagree. I think that I could definitely see it. I'll just say I could definitely see it 2-2 uh when they go back to Golden State. Later on in the series. But I mean, I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of Warriors fans, a lot of Lakers fans. Sports. Everyone in sports loves talking about these two teams. So it'll be fun. It'll be a fun series and a lot of stuff going on throughout it.
Oh, definitely. But turning our attention to today, we have a good old rivalry matchup. Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Boston Celtics. And I mean, I say rivalry, but in the coming years or in the past years hasn't really been much of a rivalry as much as it's been the Celtics dominating the Sixers and giving them a yearly early second round playoff exit. But somehow, by the grace of God or some curse that was put on the Boston Celtics, I still don't know how it happened, but the Sixers went into Boston on Monday night, no Joel Embiid, and somehow took a game from the Celtics. And I mean, I still don't know really how it happened. I mean, obviously, I do know how it happened on the back of James Harden, but I mean, going into this series, I was thinking if Embiid wasn't going to play the first two games, we were going to be dead out of the water. We were going to go down 2-0, and then maybe get Embiid back. But at that point, it would have been too much. But I mean, James Harden hops in the time machine, channels back to his MVP Houston days, and has probably easily his best game as a 76er. Dropping 50 plus points, made that big shot, but that was basically the game winning shot. And so, yeah, now the Sixers go back into Boston, or stay in Boston, and look to somehow take a 2-0 series lead. I don't think it's going to happen, but the bigger news for tonight is that Joel Embiid is actually going to play. It was looking like he was going to miss this game as well, and then especially after the Sixers won Game One, it seemed like they would go with the safe approach and benching Embiid for the second game just because you already took one, and the old adage is you always want to take one on the road. So the fact we took that first game without Embiid, a lot of people, including myself, thought that he would not be playing today or tonight, but granted he is, which I think definitely gives the Sixers a better chance to win. But I just can't see the Celtics team dropping two games at home. I don't know if I'm crazy for thinking that. I don't think I am.
No, I mean, I definitely, how good that Celtics team is, I don't see them dropping two, but I mean, you never know. I think they might be playing Embiid because how insane would it be? You throw him, you just had that great game, throw Embiid in the lineup now, and you do steal two. Like that would be, I mean, it'd be pretty hard to lose a series after that with how good the Sixers are, but um, I would probably agree. I think, Celtics could have done. That was another just kind of like that we said that, but just that was just another great game
Oh, amazing game.
from both teams. I think, yeah, the Sixers shot 50% from the field, 44 from three, and the Celtics shot 58% from the field, 38 from three. Like those teams were not missing early. Um, you have Tatum finish with 39 and Jaylen Brown finish with 23. Like that's I don't know. That's just a great scoring. I think, yeah, 4 out of 5 of their starters were for the Celtics were in double digits. So that was honestly quite a heartbreaker for Celtics, considering they played so well. But I mean, yeah, like you said, James Harden, little 45 game one performance. That's awesome. Tyrese Maxey had 26. So I mean, he keeps continually impressing now, even raising his play a little bit, or not raising his play necessarily because he was pretty good during the regular season, but
He's just doing it in the playoffs.
exactly doing it in the
What you love to
playoffs,
see.
which everyone wants to see. Um, I will say though, because I remember when I was first was watching the game, and then when I was checking the stats after and stuff, trying to see like just what was happening. They did the turnover was 16-6. So that'll do it. Even though you're shooting that great, it's going to be hard to win a game when you have 10 more turnovers. I don't know what the points off turnovers look like too, but I'd assume Philly was probably taking advantage a lot because
Yes.
then because the Celtics even outshot the Sixers on free throws, not by I think it was by 6. So
Yeah, it
but
was 17-18 for Boston and 12-12 for the
12 to 12.
Sixers.
So I mean, that was just a fun game for NBA fans of just watching people not miss a whole lot throughout the night.
Yeah, I mean, I was at work for the game, and I'll be at work again tonight for the game. So I was just at work, like following the score on my phone,
Uh-huh.
and I just kept seeing that, oh, we're down by 8, oh, we're down by 9, and then I saw it would get close, and then I finally checked that it was like, going back and forth. It was like a 2-point game in the third quarter, and then I was like, oh crap! I was like, I may have to like watch this. So I just kept watching, and then I waited till it got to like that final like 5 or 6 minute mark. Because I mean, it seems like so many NBA games you could just turn on the last like 5 minutes and you don't need to watch anything else. The
Uh-huh.
entire game would just be decided through that. And then yeah, I finally like with 5 minutes left it was like a tie game. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go on my break and watch the rest of this game. So yeah, I at least got to watch the last like 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And
Well, I would say
yeah,
especially since those last 5 minutes of an NBA game turn into 25-30
oh yeah,
sometimes.
especially when teams have timeouts, it it can go on forever. And yeah, I mean, for the Celtics, Jason Tatum, he'd kind of been struggling a little bit in these playoffs, or at least by his standards. He wasn't
Hmm.
by any means, bad or horrible, but it just seemed like he hadn't kind of risen up to the occasion or risen up to the same level of play we saw him deliver in the regular season. But, Monday night was anything but. He, like you said, finished with 39 points, 4 or 5 from three, 14 and 25 from the field, so relatively efficient. Then Jalen Brown has an incredibly efficient game. 8 of 10 from the field, 3 or 4 from three for 23 points. It's kind of like I was talking about with the Warriors, and when, Curry and Clay have a good game, they don't normally lose. And it's kind of the same thing with this Celtics team, where usually when Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum are getting going like that, they're not going to be losing games. But I think the biggest thing that kind of cost us, or one of the biggest thing that cost the Celtics team this game, aside from those turnovers, was Derek White absolutely disappearing. I mean,
Uh-huh.
he you could have argued he was playing better than Tatum through this postseason after that first series. I mean, Jalen Brown was the Celtics' best player through that first series. And then there was a serious argument to be made about Derek White. I mean, he was averaging like, it was like 20 something, like 22, 23 points after averaging like 13 in the regular season. So he was incredibly hot and then kind of just disappeared. I mean, shot 1 of 5 from the field, 0 for 4 from three. And he's kind of a 3 and D guy, so if he's not hitting threes, then his value, isn't going to be, he's not going to have as much value. He's not a horrible defender, but he's not the biggest. And, the Sixers were kind of creating some mismatches with him. I know James Harden was working on him and Marcus Smart for most of the night. But yeah, I think, aside from Tatum and Brown, the Celtics are going to kind of need some more guys to step up. Brogdon didn't play horrible, but Rob Will only 6 points. Marcus Smart and Al Horford with 12 and 11 respectively. And, that's probably what those two guys are going to sit at in terms of scoring. But I think they're going to need certain games where certain role players kind of step up if they're going to want to beat this Sixers team.
I mean, yeah, I agree. And I think going for like game two, I'm sure I'd be curious to see if Tatum and Brown could both have a good game like they did again. But then I would assume, I guess the Celtics roster as a whole, though some of the role players do step up next game or play a little bit better. And and I think because I think the Celtics will win, so I think they'll get the job done. I am curious to see James Harden plays with Embiid back in the lineup. Because I mean, obviously he's not going for 45 again, but is he still going to go for 30? Like I want to see how that changes him up, especially after you just had a game like that where you absolutely take over. I'm sure, and it it worked. You got the win. I wonder how he reacts now, where he's got to play second again a little bit to Embiid, and how that works out. Um, Trying to maybe get Embiid his shots as well as find your own because it just proved to be so successful. But I think I mean it's a huge game. I think that this obviously the Celtics know that. Obviously Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown know that. So I expect a big game at least from one of them again. And then I mean, both these teams, as much as I want to say like the role players to step up for the Celtics, both teams shot super efficient. And I don't know if that can happen like that again, and I don't think
Yeah.
it will. And I was checking, I was curious. I see the line for this game is they have Celtics minus
Yes,
seven and a
seven and
half,
a half.
which is That's a lot. And
Yeah, I
that's
think
considering Embiid, right?
yeah, Embiid, they already announced he's coming back, so I don't know why Vegas wouldn't have that
Like,
updated.
yeah, you're true. Yeah.
But I think it's just kind of they're it's kind of what I'm expecting for this game. Where I'm kind of expecting the Celtics to win pretty convincingly.
Uh-huh.
They kind of came in. They probably definitely overlooked the Sixers team without Joel Embiid. They probably definitely overlooked us a little bit, and kind of underestimated the effect James Harden can have. So I think this other team is going to come out tonight and kind of not be holding anything back, and are just going to kind of come out and dominate this game. I mean, I initially thought that with no Embiid. Now that there is Embiid, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Embiid's going to look like. He wasn't amazingly efficient or just amazing in general in that Nets series. Granted, he was getting
Uh-huh.
double and triple teamed basically every time he touched the ball. So I don't know how he's going to play, but I think Vegas is kind of just expecting, Celtics are at home again, and they're just going to kind of come out and really establish their dominance early in this game and not make the same mistakes they did last night. But I think another thing to note with this Celtics team is, I've heard and seen, Joe Mazzulla kind of coming under a lot of fire for some of the decisions that he makes regarding the rotation and whatnot. But I think it's kind of important to know that this is his first ever postseason, and I mean, obviously, it's going from coaching in the regular season to the NBA playoffs is, it's a completely different game. I mean, there's an adjustment period in of itself to just adjusting to the league, and then you get to the playoffs, and I mean, it's a whole nother beast. Every coach is, taking it up a notch. The players are taking it up a notch, and what you necessarily did in the regular season as a coach may not be what works or may not be enough to work in the playoffs. And I think the other thing is he's what, 34 years old? I mean, there's players on the court that are as old or older than him. Like he's still a young guy, and I think people are being a little bit too harsh. There's clearly a learning curve that he's gonna hit, and I think he's clearly a smart guy. He's clearly a great coach. I think he'll be making the adjustments. We saw some of the growing pains in that Hawks series, but I think we're getting to the point now where he's gonna kind of start figuring it out and kind of learning the ins and outs of coaching playoff basketball. Because I think it's a bit harsh to be too overly critical when it's the guy's first time ever in coaching in the playoffs at 34 years old.
Uh-huh. I mean, yeah, I haven't been like, um, watching the Celtics so far throughout the playoffs with like the closest eye, but I haven't seen anything overtly wrong that he's done or like anything like truly like bad or anything. So, but did you want to then just wrap it up with a little bit of Joel Embiid MVP?
Yeah, real quick, I'll give my series predictions. As much as I love my 76ers, or love's a strong, interesting word to use. It's more love hate, but I think I still gotta go Celtics in seven. I would have initially said Celtics in six had we not won on Monday, but I still think the Celtics team is the better team, and the 76ers seem to have no desire of making a conference championship in my lifetime. So I'll keep that theme going and pick the Celtics to win in seven.
Um, I would also have the Celtics winning. Um, Even though, I mean, I think there's a possibility that the Sixers can do it, but I just think, I mean, the Celtics have just been great all year. I think they were my pick at the beginning of the season, so I'm going to stick with them. Um, and yeah, maybe see if they, because I mean, I think the winner of this series,
is going
um,
to the is going to the finals.
yeah. So I
So
think,
yeah, I think both these teams are better than the Knicks and the Heat.
so I'll stick with the Celtics, and I want to see. Seven. Now that you say that too, I wonder if it does go to seven. That'd be a fun game seven too. And wouldn't that now be if it did go seven, the second game seven Embiid lost because didn't he lose to Kawhi on that one shot
Why'd you have to
on
remind
game
me,
seven?
man?
Yeah, my bad. But
I relived
I
that
mean,
moment enough in my head.
I 1-0, 1-0, or yeah, 1-0 though.
Yep,
Sixers
definitely happy now. Don't know how long it'll last.
still one more, and then it gets interesting.
But yeah, you already mentioned it last night. Big news for Sixer fans since winning as a team hasn't necessarily been their biggest selling point as of recently. But Joel Embiid has finally secured his first MVP. Seems like the last 3 or 4 years he's been cemented right in the thick of the MVP race, and it just always seemed like there was one player who was just a little bit better. And the last 2 years it was Jokic, and obviously I'm a biased Sixer fan, but I never, or I always understood why they gave the MVPs to Jokic those last 2 years. I never really hated it. I understood the value and the meaning he brought to that Nuggets team, but I think this year was as good a year as any for Joel Embiid to win it. And I think it's something I talked about with Jerry too. At the midway point of the season, it would have been really weird if looking back, you look at these like 3 or 4 seasons that Joel Embiid had, and he didn't have one MVP. Like, it would have been a really weird look to see a big man consistently averaging about 30 points on efficient shooting and not having won at least one MVP. It would have been, I think, pretty weird. So I think he deserves it. This year he just scored at a historic rate. He said, "Well, if you don't," he said, "Fine, you don't want to give it to me in the past. I'm just going to score so many gosh darn points that you can't give it to anyone else." And I mean, he won the scoring title for a center since Shaq to do it. Averaged about 33 points. I think he had that stretch of like 10 straight games of scoring over 30 points or something crazy like that. So yeah, I'm glad he won it. Sixer fans don't need to complain about it anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm glad. I agreed with the decision. I'm glad, kind of like you were saying, he finally has some hardware. I think he deserved it, especially when you got to imagine you come in second 2 years in a row, and then are in the top five. A couple years before that. I think it's good. It would be pretty tough or pretty sad if to be second twice, to be in the top five and just never getting it. Because that
Yeah,
shows you, I mean, you've been arguably the MVP 2 seasons in a row, or, I mean, 2 seasons before. And so never getting one, I mean, it's just unfortunate because I think when you get an MVP next to your name, it provides you so much more,
prestige.
like prestige and praise, like even years to come down the road. Now that he has, people are going to be looking through an MVP list and see Joel Embiid, and then you're going to have to, that's going to be like, God, do you remember how good he was and everything?
Hmm.
So I was happy for him because I just think it was just tough because two for Jokic's first one, that was Embiid's award, but he got injured towards the end of the
Yep.
season and missed that too many games. So Joker got it. And then, I mean, last year, I know it was a little bit of a debate, but not to me. That season that Joker had was just
Yeah.
incredible. You gave him, like, he already won the award, and then he literally improved on every single facet of the game and every advanced stat, normal stat. It's like, how do you not give it to him again? Um, and so, even though he had another great year this year, I do think I'm glad that Embiid finally got it. Embiid, I thought raised his play a little bit
Oh
from
yeah, he
last year too.
definitely put a little bit more on
So,
the line, especially scoring wise. I mean, he just looked like
uh-huh.
a man possessed sometimes. And I know.
So yeah,
Sorry, continue.
I was just saying. So he made that improvement. Like, so not only was he so close, but he did progress again this year. So I mean, I enjoyed it. I liked the decision. I'm glad he got one.
Yeah, and I know Embiid has, kind of come out and said throughout the year that he doesn't care about the MVP and is more focused on, team success and winning championships. I don't buy that for a second. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we all know just the kind of personality Embiid is, and
Hmm.
kind of who he is, and you can even tell by the play on the court that he wanted this MVP. He at least he wanted one. I mean, he's a uberly competitive guy. I mean, he hates losing. He wants to be first and win in everything. And I don't think the MVP race was an exception to that. I think it probably bothered him, that he finished as close as he did to winning it these last 3 seasons. And again, I think you could kind of tell by his play on the court at times that he looked like a man possessed at times, especially, with his scoring. It just seemed like there were certain moments where he was just like, I'm going to take every shot and I'm going to make every shot. And there's nothing you're going to do to stop me.
Yeah, I think that's exactly true if you think about his personality as a whole. Because for someone that seems or says they don't care, he sure does talk about the MVP a lot and to
Yeah.
post about it and stuff. So, um, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, he got it, and um, think it's good too because I do think I know it happens sometimes, which there's nothing wrong with it a little bit because sometimes there truly are players that are that good that that can keep winning it and winning it and winning it. But I also like when there is a little bit of variety and you get new names to be MVPs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it gets boring, seeing the same guys
A
win. And I
little bit,
know
yeah.
I hate the idea of voter fatigue. Like
Hmm.
I don't think that you being good or winning awards in the past should have any effect on if you win it in the
I agree.
present. And I hate voter fatigue, but it's a thing. Like I don't think you'd be naive to just say that it doesn't exist. Like I hate it, but it's definitely something I think that is real. Because if not, LeBron would have been MVP for, I mean, Lord knows how many straight seasons. But I think the NBA recognizes that people want to see, variety in who their MVPs are. But I also think I don't know the last time, three straight centers won the MVP award, and then I mean
Hmm.
Giannis was winning it before that. I know he's not, classically a center.
Uh-huh.
He's more like a point forward technically, but yeah, I mean Jokic and Embiid winning it the last 3 years. I mean you don't normally, especially in today's NBA, you don't usually see big man winning awards like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm trying to think of like when it's gonna change or something because I just don't think LeBron or KD play enough games anymore to win it. And I don't think they really care about it necessarily.
Yeah,
Kawhi doesn't play enough games, so
I mean,
that's,
you'd
those
have
are
to
your
be looking at guys
those are
like
your three small forwards.
Luca, Tatum.
Well, that's I was going to ask too because I think Lucas definitely was who should be, but he kind of fell off a little bit this year
When the
in
Mavericks
terms
really
of
suck.
in the MVP race. Yeah, he wasn't up there quite like he normally is. But I mean, the other ones like yeah, Jason Tatum is always seems to be in the MVP ladder and stuff. But do you ever see him in maybe a couple more years down the road? But like, do you ever see him beating out Giannis, Joker, and Embiid?
Yeah, I think there's an MVP in Tatum's future. I mean, this year he started off the season and insane. I mean, he was one of the MVP favorites for the first couple months. I mean, he's what? How old is he? 24, something like that. 24, I
Uh-huh.
want to say. He's only 19, right? Isn't that still the joke?
Yeah.
He's 19 forever. So he's 25 now. I definitely think there's an MVP in Tatum's future.
I guess
I think
how many years do you think then? Like in how many?
I think he can probably get one in the next 3 years, like by
Three?
the end of the
Okay.
third season. I think he already has the tools and offensive bag. I think to win an MVP, I think he just kind of needs to stay a little consistent, and that's something that I think comes with being in the league a little bit,
Uh-huh.
longer and kind of learning how to better manage your own load and kind of how to self manage your load and not overexert. Because I think that's definitely something that's playing a factor in Tatum is, he gave so much at the start of the season, was, playing so hard and playing so well that, fatigue catches up to you, man. I know these guys are, NBA level athletes and are some of the best conditioned humans on the planet. But I mean, still, the wear and tear of those games add up. But I definitely think within the next 3, maybe 4 years, Tatum can win an MVP because I mean, Boston is going to be, you know, uh, assuming something crazy doesn't happen to Boston, they'll be, competing for those top 3 seeds, which is,
Hmm.
a surefire way. If you're the
Yeah,
best player on, a top 2, 3 team, you're like basically guaranteed to at least be talked about for the MVP.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think so because I mean, I'm rooting for him. I want to get one. He was one of my. He's been one of my favorite players since he's been in the NBA. I think will definitely help too. I'm curious to see how the race plays out next year. Um, but too, if he can get like a little narrative starting to build around him too, that always seems to help sway opinions and stuff. And honestly, I think maybe if he could win a championship this year and they're that good again, and he might do it next year. I do think winning a championship will help him. They're like, because
Definitely.
we got to get him an MVP now too, or like show him the respect because he's already an NBA champion. But yeah, I mean, glad Embiid got it, and then overall, kind of just like we talked about, there's a lot of great series happening right now, a lot of great basketball.
Yep, a lot of great basketball. I mean, I'll be watching the game from work tonight again as well. But
Good
unless you
stuff.
had anything else you wanted to talk about or mention, Anthony, I think we'll be
It's good.
wrapping things up here.
Get a yeah, no, I good game starts at 5. We get a little TNT action. I'm excited.
Yep, gotta love the TNT crew. But all right, so that was the Vendetta Sports Media Daily Show for May 3rd, 2023. Me and Anthony going over, and NBA playoff basketball, giving recaps, giving predictions. Great stuff today, Anthony. Anything else you want to say real quick before we end it?
No, I'm good.